Sirius 197, XM 202, The Virus. The Ron and Fez show starts right now. It's the best and worst of the decade with Ron and Fez. The Scandals Edition.
Hey, it is the Ron and Fez show. Happy holidays. Fucking holidays. And we're doing the wrapping up the decade shows here every day, making sure you get new, fresh show, even though we're on vacation. And why do we do this, Fez?
Because we love the listeners.
Love. It's absolutely love. And it's the kind of love George Washington had for his country. It's the kind of love a father has for his baby girl. You look over, and it's nothing but love. Every hour we've been talking about something different. That was the best of the decades, the best and worst of. And this hour, it's time to talk about the scandals. The scandals of the decade. And there's nothing like that. It's always fun to have scandals. Fezzi, what was your favorite scandal of this decade?
I think my favorite scandal of the decade was the wardrobe malfunction at Super Bowl 38.
Why was that your favorite scandal out of all of them?
I think it because it kept getting bigger, even though nobody saw
her nipple.
No, her nipple didn't keep getting bigger. Of course, it was Janet Jackson, where Justin Timberlake and her are performing at the halftime show, and there's supposed to be some tearaway piece of clothing, and people thought that a complete breast was exposed. And it turned out, I guess it was the nipple with some sort of plate across it.
Kind of a buzzsaw.
Yeah, kind of some sort of breast jewelry.
Buzzsaw titty. Well, the interesting thing there is it did blow up, and it was scandal, and it was a raging fire, and two people were involved. The woman whose breast was exposed and the man who exposed that breast. The fire burned down the career of the woman with the breast and never once even singed the person who exposed her. Why, Dave?
Because we're a slightly sexist society. And maybe even take out the word slightly. We just don't like women. We think we do because we put them in beer commercials and whatnot. But we don't really like them.
Let's go over to Hicks. Hicks, why?
We do hate women in the country. And it's like it was a exposed titty. That's what they're going to focus on, not the guy doing it.
Not the person who did it, but the guy. Fezzi.
Mm-hmm.
Jump in like the other fellas did.
It happened that way because Justin Timberlake went on hands and knees and apologized for everything.
I don't remember that, but...
And Janet Jackson, I don't believe, went ahead and apologized.
I'm going to obviously disagree with that one because that never works for anybody. But, Dave, your point was half right. I'm going to give you half. Because we are a sexist country, but we're also still racist country. And this is the worst thing that American society could imagine, and that's a black breast. A black breast brought this society to its knees. David Mack, what was your favorite scandal?
My favorite scandal was the Jim McGreevey scandal because every little detail that developed got more and more fun. At first, he's resigning. He was the governor of New Jersey, and he's resigning. Then we find, there's some rumors that he was unfaithful to his wife. Oh, this is fun. Okay, so he's unfaithful to his wife. Then we find out, he was sucking another, man's penis. And that's why. And he's been a homosexual this entire time. Then we find out that he put one of his gay lovers in the office, in a high office in New Jersey. And it got more seedier and seedier until McGreevey he's looked on as such a piece of scum. I just love that scandal to death.
And he is the modern day Harvey Milk. I mean, his career was way bigger than Harvey Milk's. and
he was
this
is
how he handles it.
And someone from New Jersey, he was a very promising politician. I mean, This was a young guy. He was in shape, well, they all stay in shape and are thin and whatnot now, we know. But he always looked like, this could be a guy who could be maybe not president, but a high-ranking cabinet member of, some future Democratic president. And it was ridiculous. And I also have selfish reasons. 2 months before the scandal happened, I got a picture and shook my hands with.
Where's that picture?
With Governor McGreevey. My mom has it somewhere.
Why don't we get that picture and have it posted on the internet as two gays meet at a rest stop?
Maybe I won't show you that picture then.
Let's get a little heat for you.
Maybe I'll keep that picture hidden. So,
Chris Stanley, what was your scandal?
My favorite scandal of the last decade was Lisa Nowak, that crazy astronaut that went cross-country in
I forgot that one.
In diapers, trying to kidnap the fucking girlfriend of another astronaut who she was just friends with and I guess infatuated with.
That was great stuff all the way around. Really, really, really fun stuff. Let's go over some of the scandals. Give us a hit or miss on how everybody feels about it. How about the John and Kate +8? They went from this reality show that apparently all the women loved until John wants to go out and bang chicks on the side and leave the 8.
They were so bizarre, the change that they went through, almost like a cartoon, like Fred Flintstone going to Hollywood and getting a swollen head. They were just amazing throughout the years they were on.
I say miss. I didn't like them. I still don't like them. Maybe it's because they're TLC stars. Just don't have respect for that channel. Don't like its programming. Was rejected by the Baby Story people myself, so I don't like them.
This is what's always funny about the 15 minutes of fame and the just shelf life of a scandal. The Paris Hilton sex tape, and then when she went off to jail, had the country completely excited. Now, here we are in 2009. I'm fairly sure Paris Hilton could walk through a mall today and it wouldn't be any big deal.
Yeah, that's
so
absolutely
something
true.
That you could have easily said was the big story, was the big scandal story, is forgotten. And we could say the same thing about Dave's McGreevey. This guy, Lord knows, he could be on a bicycle path and people wouldn't know him. It just happens in this type of deal. It's the whole point of the 15 minutes of fame that Andy Warhol supposedly wished on the country. Rihanna and Chris Brown, where Chris Brown smacked Rihanna, big at the time. The Phil Spector murder trial. Martha Stewart's trial and going to jail, gigantic for a while.
That was gigantic and just followed completely through where they were talking about what kind of sweater she was wearing the day she finally got out of prison.
Yeah. That was one that kind of went under my radar, the Martha Stewart thing. I knew that she...
It was a women's thing. It was a women's thing.
Women's thing, yeah.
Well, women love her. I mean, it's not like she has a lot of male followers. Here's one already forgotten about, and so is this person's career. Winona Ryder's shoplifting was very, very big for a while.
That's where she just seemed like she was a complete nut. But
the interesting thing is, now that you take the step back, she's not a complete nut. Even if she did lift something, she's not as insane as they ever let on.
But at the same time, she really hasn't... what movies has she done? I know she made a cameo in Star Trek.
Most women's careers dry up.
Right.
Most women's careers dry up in their mid to late 30s. Gigantic star, huge story, and that's Mel Gibson's anti-Semitic breakdown.
That was fun.
It was a lot of fun for a couple of big reasons. Number one, it's caught on tape. Number two, he's anti-Jew in a town where the Jews do pretty well.
Killing the Jews.
Yeah, and it had nothing to... And he was yelling at the police, but about the Jews.
Right.
It had nothing to do with the DUI or the LAPD. He just all of a sudden vented against Jewish people.
And then the great thing is they went around and talked to I mean, after this happened, it was obviously very embarrassing for Mel, and he was incredibly drunk at the time, which, I don't know, Dave thinks is an excuse. A lot of people don't think is an excuse, but he loved it. But they went around and talked to a lot of the big agents and producers and studio heads that are Jewish and said, could you ever work with Mel Gibson again after what happened? And to a person, they all said, sure, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, well.
With the right deal? Uh-huh. Because they don't take it personally.
Money, money, money.
But Mel, of course, was wasted.
I loved his mugshot, too. They always. Have you ever seen a celebrity get busted in a mugshot who's not wearing a Hawaiian shirt? It's
you know what's really weird, though? When you go to L.A. and you get off the plane, the amount of people wearing Hawaiian shirts. Middle-aged guys, particularly. But the Hawaiian shirt has never looked good on anyone.
No, it's terrible.
You got a fucking East Coast that, wear a nice cigar shirt for yourself, a nice throwback at Tommy Bahama, you look like $1 million. Do
you remember the pictures that came out before he was arrested? Like the chicks sent out the pictures of him partying with these middle-aged bras.
Everything was happy time.
Right.
The eyes barely open.
And then, but having fun, everything was okay. But then a half hour later, the Jews are running it. The Jews have multinational. Okay, it's all about the Jews. Nothing else. Here's a big one that actually never heard a career and kind of died with a whimper, and that's R. Kelly's pissy child porn sex tape, where he would take the young girls and urinate on them.
Well, that was one, kind of like the Phil Spector trial, where it took so long, and he was walking around just doing his business and everything.
Oh!
A different kind of business. Where it took so long for that trial to finally happen, and then acquitted. Charges thrown out.
Yuck.
Didn't like it, huh? Not a fan.
I wasn't a fan. You know what? I think you have to be somewhat, just have a tiny morsel of interest in the celebrity. And when
the music is awful.
Yeah, and when it's that shitty and you know that he can fly and he believes he can fly, you're like, okay, I get R. Kelly. I'm never going to listen to his songs. I don't care about a scandal. So that one was a miss for me, personally.
This is one, I don't know how it played across the country, but here in New York it was beloved on the gossip pages, and that's Chrissy Brinkley losing yet another husband, this one to Peter Cook. Was it architect is what his so-called job is. And he, of course, was with a extremely young, barely legal teen, who, by the way, was also beautiful.
Hot as fuck. Holy shit.
Yeah, she was gorgeous.
Long Island skank. He was just fucking...
it all happens on Long Island, doesn't it?
That's where it is.
I think that was fun, because when we saw how young the girl was, plus they interviewed her, I think, where she worked, a toy store. And we kept getting more details of Peter Cook, like, hiding money under a rock for her to show up later and find.
Yeah, you're remembering a lot more about it than me.
That's amazing.
I have no idea what you're even saying right now. All I know is that he banged a girl, and I think he even hired her for a while.
Yeah, she was
always
nanny,
the smart move. Why don't you work here at work?
There was a lot of nanny banging, though, because Jude Law had a nanny banging situation.
That made the front page of the Post.
People love doing that stuff. You're always going to get... I think Hugh Grant might have had a nanny-type deal. I mean, obviously, Divine Brown was the 90s, but I think Hugh Grant he might have had a nanny situation as well.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think if you're a woman and you're like, oh, the kids are too much, and Dave, your kids are that little... It would be insane to bring a pretty young girl into that house with you there. Mm-hmm. It's asking for trouble. Maybe not the first night, maybe not the first month, but trouble is coming.
Eventually, when mom's away and you're just sitting there and the two of you are bonding.
You had a couple of pops. Who needs that kind of temptation? Is this my home or fucking Hooters? Where am I living right now? So, I mean, one of the ways to stay out of trouble is to stay away from temptation. If you're an alcoholic, don't hang out in bars. If you got off heroin, don't hang out with your old junkie friends. Mm-hmm. If you're a man, don't have some young girl living in your house that thinks everything you say is interesting.
Right.
It's a fucking mistake, ladies. The young nanny the guy is going to end up there sooner or later. Get yourself an old lady to help out.
Their names are nannies, for Christ's sake.
Yes. Not hotties.
Right.
What are you doing?
Seriously, chicks?
It's all their fault, isn't it, Dave?
It really is, Ronnie. Maybe I agree. Maybe Janet Jackson should have had her career die.
And quite frankly, don't let any of your hot friends come over when Dave is drinking.
That's a lot of temptation there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say?
Here's the next one.
Okay.
That was hot for a while, and I guess he finally had to pay the girl off. And one of the great things of doing is when you pay the girl off, you also have to say, all right, and also you have to say shut up about it. You can't even tell people how much money I gave you. But that was Bill O'Reilly's sexual harassment suit.
Right.
And I guess she had tape of him.
Yeah, he was leaving voicemails about what he wanted to do to her.
I don't even think they're voicemails. I think they were on together. I think she fucking rolled tape while they were talking.
Wow.
And basically, he wanted to say, I want to take a shower with you, rub you down with a loofah, but he fucked up and said he wanted to rub her down with a falafel.
That guy is the best.
He is. He's a fucking runaway maniac.
And I think he was bragging about the size of himself from a trip that he had made overseas, like to Thailand or something, that the Thai women just loved him and were complimenting him on his size.
Well, of course, they're Thai women.
Don't remember that one.
And they're prostitutes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
They're
But I don't.
Asian snookies.
I remember paying attention to that at the time because we were on the same radio station that was running O'Reilly, so I was having fun talking about it on the air. Fairly sure Fez is off with that. Don't remember the Thailand thing coming up. I know the islands did, but you talked about the Caribbean. But I'm fairly sure there wasn't a Thailand tie-in.
But he never got hurt at all from it, really.
Well, he bought her off.
Yeah.
He's on
He did the right thing.
And never went to court.
And he didn't rape her.
Right.
He just, fucked around, and she hit him a harassment suit, and he goes, hey, wouldn't it be a lot better if you had a couple mil?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
if you got the extra money, it's something perfect to spend it on.
I guess that's what they did with Isaiah Thomas's check, too. She sued him and the Knicks for a lot of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
And they just said, all right, take it quick.
As the details were coming out, out of the deaths, I'm not sure if this would have mattered at any other time, but the exact timing that Anna Nicole Smith died made it a gigantic story.
Oh, yeah, and then we got an extra, well, her son had just died, I think maybe a month earlier, a month or two, so that was suddenly, and that was still in the news. She dies, then all of a sudden we get a scandal on top of one. Who's the real father of the baby that's left behind?
Did we ever figure that out?
Yeah, it was Larry Burkhead.
And he is?
Larry Burkhead, I think, was
some kind of photographer or something.
Yeah, a friend of hers.
It was like the debate was between that and Howard K. Stern.
And why
lawyer.
did we ever care about Anna Nicole? What did she ever do big?
Originally was her first scandal. She was a big model who married an old guy.
Oh.
And everyone was like, oh, she's marrying for the money and all that type of BS.
So she just fucking train wrecked her way through life.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And she had even gotten to the U.S. Supreme Court over getting that guy Marshall's money.
But I'm pretty sure she was a Playboy or at least maybe a Penthouse model.
She was a guest model.
What's that?
She was a big guest model, then she went to Playboy.
But she went to Playboy after she was famous, though, right?
Yeah.
She didn't Playboy at first.
I thought she did Playboy, then married the old dude. In that order.
That's what normally
happens.
happens.
There's a lot of Playboy most Playboy models, you have no idea who the fuck they are. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility.
Now, by the way, this was after her modeling days, but before her real train wreck days. I guess just when her reality show started. We were all on Hooters on 57th Street. She came in with the whole Addams family, including the lesbian nanny, the helper. Yeah. You could tell that she kind of had a pretty face, but her body was like any big woman from fucking Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there was no holy shit, you know?
Yeah, well, she was very big. And then she lost the weight, remember, for a time.
Trim spa, baby.
Oh, yeah.
She was wearing sweatpants.
Trim spa. Oh, it was trim spa. It wasn't a plastic surgeon. I mean, her face looked different. Her nose was thinner.
But trim spa.
It was all about trim spa, right?
Trim spa could be part of the whole fucking scandals that were
Well,
done.
there was that Cardinals pitcher who died because of some kind of diet drug.
Here's one of my favorite scandals, and this actually changed the way the publishing game gets done, and that was James Frey's book, A Million Little Pieces, where he wrote about himself as this tough guy who rehabbed himself, no drugs when he got his teeth drilled, just handling it all. Turns out everything was bullshit. Everything down the line was bullshit. Now, is he a good writer? Absolutely. Did whether or not that book, whether it was true or fictional, change anyone's life? Nope. It was fine. But they rained on this fucking guy much harder than they did for there not being any weapons of mass destruction. The press teed off on this fucking prick as if he was the one who said there was weapons of mass destruction. Why is that, Fez?
Well, I think because it got tied in with Oprah, and he made Oprah look bad, and you can't offend the queen of daytime television.
But there would be no reason for the other journalists to jump into that. Why, Davey Mack?
I think that here journalists love building heroes and then making them into villains.
So he just got caught up in the whole scandal.
Most people in America, if you're in the spotlight, eventually you're going to fall down.
Why so much heat on this lying hack, Hicks?
People just don't look like a fucking asshole, and they don't like being fooled.
They don't like being fooled.
They just don't like it.
Even though we watch reality TV, it's a lie, no one gets furious about it.
Because we know it's a lie. So we're at this point almost watching fiction, and we know it.
But was there any reason for you to believe anyone's memoir as if it was 100% true? Particularly when you have sports books.
Right.
They come out one after another. Here's what I think it comes down to. James Frey got himself in a position of... Because the difference is writing literature and writing a memoir for yourself that's well accepted. It's still considered a little above the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And in the world of journalism, that's the kind of people that people fantasize about that lifestyle. The other writers kind of will admire and then even become jealous. And when someone fucks that up for them, they're going to light him up like there's no tomorrow. And that's what they did to this kid. They fucking could not stop ripping him a brand new ass. Who was the biggest train wreck, Fuzzy?
I think the biggest train wreck of the decade had to be Britney Spears.
Britney Spears?
Yeah, just losing her kids at one point, shaving her head bald, then with that bald head trying to smash Kevin Federline's windows out.
Third act, though, Fez, what happened? Got the kids back, got the career back, looks fantastic, and Kevin Federline's a big fat fucking hog. So at a certain point, we're all like, she's crazy. She's going to be dead every day, but she did turn it back around, and Mike Kaka goes to see her in concert for some reason.
That's very strange.
Isn't it?
It's peculiar.
Another train wreck.
What is it?
Peculiar.
All right. What do you got for me?
MJ. And no, I'm not talking about magic, baby. I'm talking about the Moonwalker, Michael Jackson. That's your train wreck. That's that guy. In the 2000s, he upped his game, dangling the kids out, putting masks on them, getting crazier. And
was that all this decade?
Yeah.
The masks and everything?
All that shit was this decade. Because just do the math.
This is going to be tough to beat. Because I had an Anna Nicole, but MJ actually had talent and went out there and acted as bad shit.
Yeah. And
where she had nothing but, I'm fucked up, put me in a clown's face and squirt me with a hose. she had nothing.
No.
She had no talent. Michael Jackson, you could argue was one of the most talented pop stars we've ever had.
And was just so odd in this decade. I mean, just crushed the other decades where he was odd. This decade, you saw more ABC specials. You know, The Man in the Mirror, you saw him holding the kid. This is the decade that he said he just likes to sleep with kids.
And then here's the weird thing, too. MJ acted like a fucking lunatic. He destroyed any artistic thing that we thought of him. Oh, he's a joke. He's a moron. And then when he dies, you're like, holy shit, was he great?
Right? We're
God,
such
I feel
assholes.
terrible.
We are such assholes.
And then you turn around and the most downloaded songs in America his.
Yeah.
And then, every special's about him. People are coming out, I always loved Michael. Michael was the best.
I bought a Thanks, Michael. It's been a thriller T-shirt.
That's really good. Seriously, that's good.
I gotta get my Michael Jackson's T-shirt.
Yeah, you gotta
$5.
You gotta get your Michael on for you. That one's gonna be. Who did you have again, Fez?
I had Britney Spears.
Yeah, she's a good one, but the third act, she's the comeback kid. Dave's third act here, death, fighting over the body, fighting over the kids.
And that Tito Jackson reality show.
And then a giant funeral where people performed.
Oh, yeah.
At the funeral.
Good one.
Just beyond nutty. Hicks, what do you got for me?
Like, I don't think I could beat fucking Jackson since he died. But I'm going to say Jennifer Aniston was a really great train wreck to watch over the last 10 years, since pretty much her career hasn't gotten to anywhere since Friends. Her man left her, and she's constantly in the tabloids nonstop about how she's crazy. She cries over him still years later, and that she just throws her pussy at every fucking co-star she has.
Yeah, but she's too hot and still too successful to be a train wreck. Oh, is she a giant star? No, but she stars in movies.
I just don't feel bad for her because she was coming off of Friends, and I mean, yeah, she does have her act together. And also, there's something, I have to say, I always thought there was something actually unlikable about Jennifer Aniston.
Even before?
Even while she was going out with Brad Pitt, I was hoping Brad Pitt would fucking hook up with another broad. I was hoping it.
Why? I don't hope things bad or good for people I don't know.
I do. For Jennifer, she just seemed cold and reserved.
I will say, there's something about that I think is true. Is that she doesn't seem like, she doesn't have the hot passion.
No.
And it comes off in the love scenes that she
might not even be a friendly person.
But she's gorgeous.
She wasn't as Rachel when she had weight. When she got too thin, I didn't like it at all. And I'm not trying to be, I'm Dave, I can go. I hate when guys do that. But I'm saying when she was Rachel and had weight on her, she was really hot.
Well, I'm going to give you my train wreck, even though I don't think, I'm going to be like Pepper and cop out and say I don't think he can beat Michael Jackson because he's the king of pop. But this is a young lady we watched go from kid actor to basically death clock, and that's Lindsay Lohan, where she started this decade doing, Freaky Friday and we're two fucking twins or something happened to, I forget. What's that twin movie all the girls like?
The Parent Trap.
Yeah, she remade The Parent Trap. I mean, a little girl she's grown up, she's hot, and then she's just straight fucked up.
Right.
And then if it gives you any more, I get some up here. Her dad is also a train wreck.
Right.
Sister, mother, anyone she dates. There's a nice...
lesbianism.
Even though it's not as big as Dave's, I think I can put together a web of train wrecks here that's going to give it some real heat.
Well, the fact that she's in her early 20s and at this point looks to be in her late 60s. I mean, if you catch a picture from a distance, she looks like an old lady now.
You say that, but go to the Huffington Post and look at those pictures of whatever magazine she just did where she's topless. She's fucking hot.
She's hot as fuck.
Yeah, she is, when she's not rolling out of bed and stuff. But there was a window in, 2005 to 2007 where she was really hot.
Mean Girls. When she was in Mean Girls, it was ridiculously hot. Now she's just all coked out and crazy, so she's crazy hot.
So no one likes the junkie hot thing? That's not working for you guys at all?
When she was healthier, she was better looking. And it does work for me, but not with her.
It's a different kind of hot now, because then you didn't know she was fucking totally nuts and totally coked out all the time. Now,
like Kristen Stewart looks junkie hot, and it works for me. And I would not be surprised if someone said she has a massive coke problem.
Do you hope she breaks up with her boyfriend and meets someone new?
I kind of do. Sick of it.
I would not be surprised if I heard they had a massive coke problem. You are a fucking girl, my friend.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there.
It's the scandals when we come back, Fezzy. 15 minutes of fame. That's people who basically, their fame came and went in the 90s. Ron and Fez.
Ronnie B, Fezzy W. Ron and Fez. Sirius 197, XM 202, The Virus.
Ron and Fez show. Wrapping up the year. Very embarrassed how much knowledge of scandal and gossip we all have. Although when some of you guys run deep on it, I think I know the superficial stuff, but what happens? And I'm still pretty sure that Bill O'Reilly didn't say the girls in Thailand said I had a big cock. I think that one was just completely made up. Now it's time to talk about the 15 minutes of fame that people had. Now, the great thing about that is it really shouldn't be based on talent. You know, a one-hit wonder still had one amount of time that talent opened up a door for him.
Okay.
The 15 minutes, people, should probably be there just because somehow the stars aligned for them and they thought, my life has become special, and then the stars went back to their normal place. Davey Mack, when I say 15 minutes in the zeros, who are you thinking about?
Well, we didn't do it on the sports show, so I'm going to do it here. Mr. Steve Barton. Steve Bartman. I love this kid with his dopey, huge Walkman. I don't even think he had Discman or an iPod. It was the old school Walkman earphones and the thick Ralphie from Christmas Story glasses. And this kid just reached for a baseball, which 3 other guys did. If you notice it when you watch the shot, 3 other guys do it, but he gets called out because, quite frankly, he's the only one who can't defend himself. The other 2 guys were firemen who would kick ass if they got beers thrown on them. So everyone took their frustrations because the Cubs hadn't won since 08 on this kid. I love him.
Here's what I love about him. He took the heat, he went away, and has never tried to cash in on it.
He's gone.
He never wrote the Steve Bartman book,
right?
How My Life Was Ruined. And now you finally see people sticking up for him when anyone brings up his name.
Yeah.
People be like, hey, come on. The fuck, you can't blame that loss on him. They weren't doing that for a long time.
Absolutely not.
But people have come back around on it.
I mean, you know, Moises Alou started, the left fielder for the Cubs at the time, throws the glove and points at him. It's like, you can't do that. You can't point
You know, Moises was caught up in the moment, too. Everybody was caught up in the moment. Fez Whatley, Steve Bartman, he was a fun one. Who you got for us? 15 minutes.
One that I just became obsessed with this story, the runaway bride from Georgia. Her name was Jennifer Wilbanks.
Big eyeballs.
Just big, giant eyeballs.
Give me a picture of her, because I am lost on this. So why did they call her the runaway bride?
She got cold feet, didn't want to get married. I think it was in Atlanta. And then made up this gigantic story that she had been kidnapped. And the FBI got called in to find her. And it was all made up. And she ended up being brought home back to Georgia. I think she ended up out west somewhere. With a blanket over her head. She was just walking through airports with a giant quilt.
She just didn't want to get married. She made up this huge story.
Yeah.
That was a funny one. I mean, you just say I don't want to get married. You're calling feds and shit.
Some people can't tell their parents, I've changed my mind.
And both families were looking for her and trying to get help.
Horrifying.
This woman was just nuts. And she looks it.
How about you, Hicks? What's yours?
Oh, that asshole William Hung, who fucking got a goddamn record deal off goddamn American Idol, and the only reason he gave him money was so America could laugh at him. It's so frustrating.
Here's who I hope takes a good long look at William Hung, and that's the morons of Jersey Shore, because you are not entertaining people. You are making the fucking people who have no cool feel better than you. And that's all this show is about. You can tell the people who worry about their place in the world by the people who can sit and laugh at the idiots of Jersey Shore and feel like somehow they're cooler than them. William Hung was the same thing. It was a chance for people with no talent to yell out, "He really stinks," and then act like, "Yeah, go for it," like they're teasing the retard.
Right. When he actually parlayed it, he got a record deal. He put out a record.
I'm sure they ended up paying him in cotton candy.
Maybe green cards as well.
That thing is just like saying, "Stalker Patty, you look pretty today." It's just fucking, it's just mean. There's a sense of cruelness in it. I'm going to give mine, and of course mine is, came and went so fast. This might only be 14 minutes.
Okay.
But it was a bizarre story when a gentleman named John Mark Carr admitted that he killed Jean-Benet Ramsey and was arrested, taken in, and got such massive play on it, only to hear he lied, and there was no reason for him to make it up.
Why?
To turn yourself in as if you did something and you had nothing to do with it at all. And I just loved the wasting of taxpayers' money and network airtime.
Yeah, because I think he had to be brought in from another country.
Thailand. They flew him in.
He was the guy who had the big dick in Thailand. I think he needed a free trip back from Thailand.
He was totally insane, and he was basically, like John Mars without a mustache. You could tell he was making a story up.
All right, I'm just going to say something to Fez, and no one else will get. But there's the picture of him, Fez, and pay attention to the name Dan Chapello, and that's just a guy that Fez and I used to know years ago. Actually, I started doing comedy with him, but he looks a lot like that guy. He was great for what he was doing, just wasting everybody. It was punked. It was a punked episode. All right, let's go over some of the people who had 15 minutes of hot fame over the decade. A personal favorite here, Balloon Boy. Best TV of the decade.
Huge.
When I found out Balloon Boy was still alive, I hadn't been that thrilled in my life.
We've gotten some, I mean, Balloon Boy was a great one.
Here's one that got hot, and then you'll occasionally still hear about her, and that's Octomom.
Never liked her, never cared for her.
I still shopping a reality show, trying to get something.
I didn't understand the story so much. Like she's poor.
She's fucking human Jiffy Pop.
Yeah,
her fucking belly just popped up like Jiffy Pop. Then she started spitting kids out like rats.
And why do people have a problem with her? That's what I never understood.
Because she already had 6 kids at home and couldn't afford them.
Oh, okay.
Chimp Lady made it big, and of course you just... now, which one do you consider Chimp Lady, Fez? The lady who was attacked or the lady who owned the chimp?
I consider the victim, the one who got attacked, to be Chimp Lady.
See, I don't like the idea of that, because that's like calling someone that was raped Lady. You know what I mean? The crime happened to her.
Terrible.
I think Chimp Lady owned the chimp.
We really...
Or if a kid was murdered... Murder Boy. My favorite was Murder Boy.
It seems like her unveiling on Oprah knocked Balloon Boy out of his 15 minutes. I think that's when he finally was out of the papers, when Chimp Lady was revealed.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, those things, like we said, they come and go on a news cycle of their own. And the weird thing is about all these stories is you start to know these people. Here's one that made it big, particularly her picture online, and that was Lindy England. And she was the Abu Ghraib who was pointing. That it ended up in everybody's MySpace page.
Right, everyone did little tributes to her.
Right, the same pose.
With the cigarette dangling as well.
Speaking of MySpace, is it time that we just turned out the light on that? Speaking of the 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, now that we're entering a new decade, forget about it. It's over.
And everyone who had a MySpace probably gets a loser tattoo and then never has to bring it up again.
Okay.
You willing to do that, Dave?
Sure. I know the guy behind the glass is going to get one as well.
Both you guys had a MySpace?
Yeah, I had a MySpace.
He lived by his MySpace way more than I did. I just put mine up for shits and giggles. I never even checked it.
Did you shit and then giggle?
He always checked his MySpace. Pepper Hicks, I'm talking about.
I guarantee in about another year you're going to say that you weren't into Twitter.
Maybe.
Here's one that they tried to turn into a hero, and as the truth came out, she just disappeared, and that's Private Jessica Lynch. She was the one they originally said was shooting her way out of a place.
Meg Ryan? Right. That was the Meg Ryan movie?
Not that I know of. Meg would have been too old to play her.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was actually there in Iraq.
Yeah, no, but then they made some kind of movie, but maybe I'm mistaken.
And then it turned out it wasn't this great heroic firefight that saved her life. The Iraqis were ready to turn her over. She had been injured, and they were turning her over anyway.
It was all a very strange thing.
Yeah.
Where the lies began without an end that no one could ever figure out. Here's a guy who, white hot for a while, Joe the Plumber. And the more of that, the less people wanted to know.
Oh, yes.
Here's a name we almost forgot, Jeremiah Wright, who was Obama's racist pastor. From Fez's neck of the woods, Terry Schiavo.
From my hometown, Pinellas Park, Florida. Congress even went in, I think it was some sort of holiday night, I can't remember which one, but they went in at night to debate on whether this woman should have her feeding tube removed. All of Congress showed up.
And I remember some of the people were so enraged and so freaked out about it, and then were able to go on after she died. But at the time, if you looked at it, you would have thought, who was like some of the Fox News guys?
Paul O'Reilly,
Hannity.
I think it was Hannity who flew down there, did his show, and looked like if this woman dies, he's going to die with her. And a week after she died, he seemed to be okay about it and just was able to drop it. This is a kid who did more to ruin our country and sporting in general, and that's J-Mac, the autistic basketball player. Now, let me put this properly. I got no problem with J-Mac. My problem with how many J-Mac wannabes are out there now ruining every high school game. Explain J-Mac, Fez.
J-Mac was a kid that they let on the basketball team. He's autistic. They let him on his high school basketball team basically because he wanted to be there. He never got to play in a game or anything.
Well, he was the manager, right? He was the equipment manager, and he's autistic.
He was the Tony Reali of their team.
Yeah, equipment manager.
That's really wrong.
So, end of the
By the way, Tony Reali wearing sharp suits every night now. Have you noticed?
Too much.
Almost shark skin.
But I know where you're from in New Jersey, mister. You're not a fucking gangster.
So they put him in last game. They were up so much that it didn't matter, I guess. They put him in. I think he sunk 6 3-pointers in a row.
6 threes. 18 points. Not bad.
And
but nobody was guarding him. The other team just let him fucking drill. What happens now, the blind kid gets to score a touchdown.
Everyone.
The deaf kid gets to lead the band. Whatever it is.
Retarded midget.
And then everybody's supposed to be able to go to the Today Show and say once a month, my heart went out so much. What always makes me furious, they interview the kids' team instead of the other team that laid down for them. Somebody's got to pull a Brooklyn Brawler here. Right. And I'm telling you, for this story to be nice. But I think if your kid is out there and he is guarding autistic J-Mac, you got to tell him, put the ball back in his face. Susan Boyle. was a big one. And this is one that I like because we haven't had a story like this, I think, since the 1950s. And that's a famous, long-running game show winner like Ken Jennings.
Oh, I love him.
Unlike a millionaire guy who goes up, wins in one night, Ken Jennings stayed on the show like it was a fucking full-time job.
That was great, and that was because of a rule change that Jeopardy made, a brilliant rule change, which, they used to only be able to play for a week. I saw Ken Jennings in the subway last year, and I still recognized him. No one else knew who the hell he was.
Did you yell out Ken Jennings?
Absolutely. I'm an asshole like that.
Did you yell back?
I pointed. He smiled politely, had a very Mikey boy
He looks just like Mikey Boy.
And he even did the same kind of little chuckle to himself and shy, bashful wave.
By the way, Mikey Boy is the person who runs 202 Friends Twitter for us and our best friend. But if we did a movie about Ken Jennings, he could play that part.
As long as he cut off the Furio hair.
I think he has cut it down.
All right, good.
I saw his Twitter, and he said he lost 6 pounds of hair. That might have only been on his crotch. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Well, he's dieting.
I don't get that part.
No. That's confusing.
Just, it's one way to lose weight.
All right, about to wrap this one up. Another hour of these scandals. And you look this stuff over, Fezzi, and you wonder why we ever paid that much attention to it to begin with. Let's do real quick before we end up here. Political scandals. Governor Mark Sanford ran off to Argentina. Then Chicago story, Fez.
Rod Blagojevich trying to sell off President-elect Obama's Senate seat.
Davy Mack, John Edwards, and what was his big scandal?
His wife. Cheated on his wife.
Love child. Always second best. Elliot Spitzer, and he brought up
Hooker.
Client 9.
Right.
Client 9.
His code name.
Let's see if Hicks can remember this one. Senator Larry Craig.
Bathroom trying to get blown by dude.
And Wide Stance. Wide Stance. God bless his heart, the great Pat Tillman. What happened there? I'm going to go to...
I'm raising my hand.
I'll go to Eastside, Dave.
Former Cardinal went overseas and was killed by friendly fire, it turns out. But originally we thought he was a hero. Levi Johnston.
Sarah Palin's almost son-in-law, who turned on the family and ended up posing for Playgirl.
I'm going to give this one to Hicks. Harry Whittington.
Ooh.
I
I'm glad I went to him.
Can't remember.
Harry Whittington?
Let me give you this.
English?
He did not so much have 15 minutes of fame, 15 buckshots.
Oh, Cheney shot him in the face?
Dick Cheney shot him in the face. He took a face job from Dick Cheney, and oh, what a time it was. The scandals of the last decade, Fez. A lot of fun. Tomorrow, as you listen to the best ofs, you will hear us go back and forth over the decade of Ron and Fez. We'll pick out some of the best and worst moments of the Ron and Fez show. We thank all you guys, and we hope that you're enjoying your holidays. Enjoy the best of the Ron and Fez show. And you know what this one's going to be about today, Fez?
I'm not sure.
It's exactly right. None of us are sure. By the best of, I tell Hicks, just run back into any date, pull a fucking tape, and let the magic rip, because it's all fantastic. Enjoy the best of the Ron and Fez show.